the book of the law. Adabarim, these be the words, Deuteronomy chapter 30. And we're going to be reading from verses 1 to 10, the prophecy of the awakening of the children of Israel. Deuteronomy 30, verses 1 through 10. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither Yahweh thy Elohim have driven thee, and shalt return unto Yahweh thy Elohim, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children with all thy heart, with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy Elohim will turn thy captivity, and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy Elohim have scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Elohim gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. And Yahweh thy Elohim will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good, and multiply thee above thy fathers. And Yahweh thy Elohim will circumcise thy heart, and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And Yahweh thy Elohim will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of Yahweh, and do all his commandments which I command thee this day. And Yahweh thy Elohim will make thee plenteous in every work of thy hand, in the fruit of thy body, in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy land, for good. For Yahweh will again rejoice over thee for good, as he rejoiced over thy fathers, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes which are written in this book of the law. And if thou turn unto Yahweh thy Elohim with all thy heart and with all thy soul. That was Deuteronomy chapter 30, verses 1 through 10. Now we turn to Yeshaya chapter 58. Yeshaya chapter 58, verses 12, 13, and 14. Yeshaya 58, 12, 13, and 14. And they that shall be of thee shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations. Thou shalt be called the repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of Yahweh honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Then shalt thou delight thyself in Yahweh, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father, for the mouth of Yahweh hath spoken. Isaiah chapter 58, verses 12 through 14. Now we turn to the book of the Acts of the Apostles. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 13. Acts of the Apostles, chapter 13, from verses 38 to 44. Acts 13, 38 to 44. Be it known unto you, therefore, men and brethren, that through this man is preached unto you the forgiveness of sins, and by him all that believe are justified from all things, from which you could not be justified by the law of Moses. Beware, therefore, lest that come upon you which is spoken of in the prophets. Behold, ye despisers, and wonder and perish. For I work a work in your days, a work which ye shall in no wise believe, though a man declare it unto you. And when the Yahudim were gone out of the synagogue, the Gentiles besought that these words might be preached to them the next Sabbath. Now, when the congregation was broken up, many of the Yahudim and religious proselytes followed Paul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, persuaded them to continue in the grace of Yahweh. And the next Sabbath day came almost the whole city together to hear the word of Yahweh. Acts chapter 13, verses 38 to 44. Now we turn into the epistle That was addressed to the Hebrews. Epistle written to the Hebrews, Hebrews chapter 8, Hebrews chapter 8, verses 6 through 12. Hebrews 8, 6 through 12. But now hath he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also he is the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. If that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second. For finding fault with them, he saith, Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahweh. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahweh. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. They shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahweh, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sins and their iniquities will I remember no more. Hebrews chapter 8, verses 6 through 12. Now we turn to the revelation of the Mashiach Yahushua, Revelation chapter 14, verses 6, 7, and 12. Revelation 14, 6, 7, and 12. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Yahweh, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth, and the sea and the fountains of waters. Verse 14. Verse 12, verse 12. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahweh and the faith of Yahushua. It's Revelation 14, verse 6, 7, and 12. Now we turn to Revelation chapter 11, the seventh trumpet. Revelation 11 from verse 15 to 19. Revelation 11, verses 15 to 19. And the seventh angel sounded, and there were great voices in heaven saying, The kingdoms of this world are become the kingdoms of our Elohim and of his Messiah, and he shall reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders which sat before Yahweh on their seats fell upon their faces and worshipped Yahweh, saying, We give thee thanks, O Yahweh al Shaddai, which art and wast and art to come, because thou hast taken to thee thy great power and hast reigned, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, that thou shouldest give reward to thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And the temple of Yahweh was opened in heaven, and there was seen in his temple the ark of his testament. And there were lightnings and voices and thunderings, and an earthquake and great hail. Revelation chapter 11, the seventh trumpet, verses 15 to 19. Now, last but not least, we turn back to Yeshaya. Yeshaya, the last chapter, chapter 66. Yeshaya 66, looking at verses 22 to 24. Yeshaya 66, verses 22 to 24. For as the new heavens and the new earth which I will make shall remain before me, saith Yahweh, so shall your seed and your name remain. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahweh. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, For their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched. They shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. Isaiah chapter 66, verses 22 to 24. Thank you for praise the Most High for the morning reading of his word. Thank you, Isha, for posting the scriptures. As we said earlier, we'll be looking at the book of Revelation. And I guess I know I want to start at Revelation chapter 19. Let's go back to Revelation 19, where we stopped last night. We're going to be dissecting, going into detail into this chapter. Praise the Most High. As we study the book of Revelation and now being in the 19th chapter, we saw in the beginning, and we studied the book, we saw in the beginning that there's three time periods that are basically covered in the book of Revelation. There is three time periods. There is the past, there is the present, and there is the future. Past, the present, and the future. Now, so that at any time, as you and I are living, there's something in the book of Revelation that is already past, that has already come to pass, that is from the past. There is also something in the book of Revelation that is happening right now. And there is something in the book of Revelation that is going in the future that is yet to happen. What we're reading about in chapter 19 is yet to happen. It's going to happen soon, but it's yet to happen. This is the future. What we're going to be reading about in Revelation 19 has to do with the saints taking the kingdom. The saints taking the kingdom. As we studied last night in the book of Ezekiel, and we will look at other books again today, such as Daniel and Ezekiel, maybe even Isaiah, as we did last night. And the promises, as you have read, and as we have read, even in the prophets and in the law, what we found is, first off, the promises are all to the nation of Israel. These promises were given by Hebrew Israelite prophets, and they were given messages from the Creator to the Israelite people. Also, we saw among the many promises that were given to the Israelite people was the promise of restoration of the kingdom. The kingdom being comprising of the capital of the kingdom of the people inhabiting and taking over the land that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, a geographic area that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, so that the kingdom is set on the earth. Did anybody see anything different? I mean, I'm just telling you. When we studied last night, did you see anything different as we read through Ezekiel when he kept talking about coming into the land? Didn't he say, we're going to come into the land that I promised your fathers? That's a literal place. It's in a literal geographic area on the earth. Now, I think we can all agree that the earth has changed in many ways over the thousands and thousands of years that we've been upon it. It's changed. Places that were once maybe fertile have become desert, right? Places that were, that were once occupied are now unoccupied, and vice versa. And the earth has changed. And then, of course, as a result of Noah's flood, we know that the earth has changed very much from its original geographic look from in the beginning when the Most High created it. Now, the Bible is telling us a couple of things. First, it tells us, and we're going to review this. In fact, let's take a look right now. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 65, Isaiah 65. And again, we're looking at the prophets, the Israelite prophets, writing to the Israelite people about the future of the Israelite nation. So look at Isaiah chapter 65. Isaiah 65. I'm going to begin reading in Isaiah 65 from verse, let's see, from verse 17, down to verse 25, okay? From verse 17 down to verse 25, Isaiah 65. Notice what it said. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that have not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. For they are the seed of the blessed of Yahweh, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith Yahweh. Again, as you read these scriptures, you get the idea that he's going to build the land of Israel is going to be for his people. He's going to set up, and the whole earth will be made over. Did you see that? He says, I'm going to create a new heavens and a new earth. So you can see he's going to restore the earth to what it was when he originally made it. See, he's not forgetting about how he originally made it before Adam and Eve, our father, our parents, sinned against the Most High. Before the flood that he sent to destroy the earth and to rearrange it, he's going to remake the earth, going to redo it. And when he does, he's not going to forget about his chosen people. He's going to have a Jerusalem, and he's going to have the land, and we're going to build and plant things, and we're not going to lose anything. Nobody's see, because the Israelites, as part of the curse, the Israelites have been cursed to build for other people, to plant for other people, and to not enjoy the work of their hands, to not enjoy anything that they've earned and worked hard for, not in this life. See, and we often wonder, how come we work so hard and we don't get anything? Other nations work just like us and they get everything. And then people try to say we're lazy. I mean, it is an insult. I mean, above an insult to say that any person that is of the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is lazy. You can never say any people is lazy that worked for other people for free for 200 plus years. For 300 years, we worked for free. How could you call any people lazy that work for free, 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, or sometimes for free? How could you do that? See, it's because of who we are as the nation of Israel. And even now, even as we started getting paid for our labors, we're paid less than everybody else. We don't get the same pay. It's because of who we are. But the Bible is promising here in Isaiah 65 that we're not going to plant for other people and somebody going to snatch up the work of our hands. We're not going to build houses and somebody else is going to live it. And we're going to say, glad the master live in the White House. Oh, glad the master live in the big house. We're going to build houses and we will live in them. See, we were for centuries, many centuries, we built houses for other people to live in. We planted crops for other people to eat and we got scraps. Many centuries, okay? But now we're going to get our own. We're going to have our own. That's the promise. And he's going to create new heavens and new earth. And this is going to be a kingdom of righteousness and peace, because he said the wolf and the lamb lie down together. Lion not going to have to kill deer to eat. Lion's going to eat straw, like the bullock, like a cow eats straw. Lion going to eat straw and grass. See? Praise the Most High. So this is a kingdom. It's promised to the people of Israel. Okay, we can see it right here in Isaiah 65. Okay, so that we have to understand that as we're reading the book of Revelation, these promises are to his chosen people. See, many people reading this, and then, like I said many times, there is no way There is no way a Christian is going to read the book of Revelation and understand it the way we understand it, because it is not written for that religion. There is no mention of Christianity in the book of Isaiah. There's no mention of it. There's no mention of Christianity as a religion anywhere in the Bible. The word Christian appears 3 times, and because it appears 3 times in this large volume we call the Bible, people run off and think that there's a religion when there is not. The Most High has never changed the religion that he gave to Abraham, that he gave to Isaac, that he gave to Jacob, that he gave to Moses. He has never changed it. He has never changed his covenant. He has never changed who his chosen people are. We just read. He's going to recreate the earth into Edenic beauty, and yet he's remembering the people that are of Israel and of Judah and of the Jerusalem. He's remembering who they are, and he's promising. And as we're looking at the book of Revelation, yes, it was a derogatory term. As a matter of fact, let's take a look. Let's take a look at one of the 3 places in which the word Christian appears in the Bible. I believe it's 1 Peter. The first time it appears is 1 Peter. Let's take a look at that. 1 Peter. 1 Peter chapter 4, I believe. Yes, 1 Peter chapter 4. Watch this. 1 Peter chapter 4. And the thing is, brothers and sisters, as Israelites, we understand that all the prophets speak with one voice. So that you're not going to take one verse and change what all the rest of the prophets say. And generally speaking, if it appears that way, it's because the reader is misunderstanding what's being written. And if the same verse is read in its context, it will be clearly seen, right? And let's take a look at this verse for an example of that, what we're talking about. First, the verse itself is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. That's the verse that we're talking about. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 16. 1 Peter 4, 16. Notice what it says. 1 Peter 4, 16. Yet if any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Yah on his behalf. So you look at this, and they're trying to say, you know, there's such a thing as a Christian, so we should all be calling ourselves Christian. Therefore, there is a religion called Christianity. You see how they come to that conclusion? So you see, there's a thing called a Christian. We should not be ashamed to be called a Christian. And because there's a Christian, there's such a thing as Christianity. Therefore, there's this religion. Therefore, the Messiah started this new religion called Christianity. You see how they go there? Okay, so let's just read the same thing, but let's read it in context. Let's read it in context. Now let's look at this. 1 Peter chapter 4. Let's go back and go down to verse 12. Go start at verse 12, and let's read past verse 16, and let's go down to verse 19. Okay, so we're going from verse 12, 19. So now we're getting a context for verse 16. All right, let's take a look at it. Beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice inasmuch as ye are partakers of Messiah's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. So let's stop here for a minute so you can see the context of what the apostle is writing to the believers about. Is about trials that's going to try us and being partakers of Messiah's sufferings. So far, everybody got that? So that's the subject we're talking about here, about trials that's going to try you and I as Israelite followers of the Hebrew Messiah and being partakers of his sufferings. Okay, let's continue. Then he starts, but rejoice inasmuch as ye partakers of Messiah's sufferings, that when his glory shall be revealed, ye may be glad also with exceeding joy. Then he goes in verse 14, if ye be reproached for the name of Messiah, happy are ye, for the spirit of glory and of Yahweh rests upon you, and on their part he is evil spoken of, but on your part he is glorified. So now he's talking about being reproached. That is, what does it mean to be reproached? What does that mean? That means you're going to be insulted, right? You're going to be insulted. That's what the word is translated. To be reproached is to be insulted. So you're going to be insulted. People are going to treat you rudely, and they're going to be insulting you because you are a follower of the Messiah. We understand that even today. I mean, when some so-called African American says he's an original Hebrew from the original land, do not people insult you? Do not they say, oh, you're crazy? Y'all are some sort of fanatic cult? Don't they say that? Even now, when we say we are Israelites of the Hebrew nation, yes, they do. But see, then it was the same thing. Only now they were trying to reproach them because they said Messiah has come, he has died, he is risen again, and he's alive, and they were insulted. If ye be reproached for the name of the Messiah, happy are ye. For the spirit and glory of the Father, Yahweh, rests upon you. Now, on their part, he is evil spoken of, but on your part, he is glorified. Now, verse 15. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. So in other words, here are the various ways that you will be insulted and suffer reproach. Because if you're a murderer, or thief, an evildoer, busybody, these are negative things. He said, don't get caught up in these things. Don't get caught up in that. That if they're going to insult you with these things, you deserve it. You deserve it, because if you're a murderer, you deserve what you got coming. If you're a thief, you're an evildoer, you're a busybody or a gossip, right? You deserve what you got coming. But verse 16, but if any man suffer as a Christian, in other words, if they call you a Christian trying to insult you, don't get upset about that. Let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Yahweh on his behalf. You see what I'm saying? If they try to insult you by calling you a Christian, are you hearing me? See, so it was a term that was used to try to insult somebody. But he said, don't be ashamed if they try to insult you with that, because you following the Messiah. Okay? Now, really, the word is messianic, but they use the word Christian, but hey, that's okay. For the time is come that the judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh, and if it first begin at us, what shall be the end of them that obey not the gospel of Yahweh? Where did he get that from? Judgment begin at the house of Yahweh. He didn't make that up. That came straight out of Ezekiel chapter 9. That came straight out of Ezekiel 9. I'm gonna show you in a minute. And if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Wherefore let them that suffer according to the will of Yahweh commit the keeping of their souls to him in well-doing as unto a faithful creator. So he's talking about being insulted. And one of the terms they tried to use to insult the disciples was to call him a Christian. Okay, was to call him a Christian. Are you following me? That doesn't mean that there's any such thing as Christianity. This is what heathens would try to insult the disciples of the Messiah with that term. Okay, and it's the same when you see Paul and the heathen king says to Paul, "Thou almost persuadest me to be a Christian." He's trying to insult him with this term. You trying to make me to join your crazy cult? And Paul didn't say, I want you to become a Christian. He said, I wish people all together were as I am, except for these bonds. Okay. But let me show you where he get that judgment begins at the house of Yahweh there in 1 Peter chapter 4. Let's take a look at this, because see, I'm saying there's nothing new. Everything you see in the New Testament comes out of the prophets, brothers and sisters. And that's what we study in the book of Revelation. Everything we are reading comes out of the prophets. Okay, now in Ezekiel chapter 9, notice I'm going to start Ezekiel chapter 9, and let's see. I'm going to start at verse 1 and go to verse 6 and verse 7. Verse 1 to verse 7. Notice what it says, Ezekiel 9, 1 to 7. Judgment begins at the house of Yahweh. Notice again, he cried also in mine ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate, which is lieth toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen, with a rider's inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of the Most High of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was, to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed with linen, which had the rider's inkhorn by his side. And Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sigh, that cry for all the abominations that be done in the midst thereof. And to the others he said in mine hearing, go ye after him through the city, and smite Let not your eyes spare, neither have ye pity. Watch verse 6 now. Slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children and women, but come not near any upon whom is the mark. And where did he say to begin? He said, begin at my sanctuary. Did you see that? Verse 6. And he said, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men, which were before the house. And he said unto them, defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go ye forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. See, so the judgment began where? At his sanctuary. Judgment begins, Peter said, where? In the house of Yahweh. What does that mean? Let me explain. Judgment begins with the Hebrew. You see, brothers and sisters, let me explain to you. The Most High is causing us as Hebrews to be smacked around. I mean, we are getting it. We are getting the business from the heathen. Isn't that true? I mean, am I lying? We are getting the business from the heathen. We're getting smacked around, okay? And every time we turn around and try to appease them in some way, you know, people try to say, well, I want to show that I'm a true American, so I'm going to go to war. I'm going, you know, people been doing that from the Civil War, where the Civil War was different. Brothers in the Civil War because they wanted their own freedom to smack these heathen and get their own freedom. But after that, World War I, World War II, brothers started joining and would come back from these wars fighting for this country and get lynched in their uniforms. Okay? Why? Why would they do that? Because they were trying to show they were Americans. But they weren't treated like Americans. During the civil rights movement, they said, we're trying to show we're men, we're human beings. Look, the heathen know we men. They already know what they're doing to us. We don't got to explain to them what they are doing to us. They know what they're doing. So the Most High is allowing us to get this treatment, and he's trying to cause us to turn to him. And many of us are. That's what the awakening's all about. Many of us are turning to the Most High. But then there are those that are sellouts, mind-controlled sellouts, like this dude Kanye, running into this heathen's White House and basically kissing his feet. Yes, a massa. Yes, a massa. Judgment begins there. Judgment begins with us. There are many of us that are going to be lost because the Most High is trying to save us. He's trying to awaken us as to all that has happened to us. But there are many sellouts among us. Notice he said he began at the ancients of the house. These are the leaders. So beware when the media tells you this certain black man is one of your leaders. This black woman is one of your leaders. When the media, now let's go back for a second now. Let us remember, let us not forget who controls all the media. Can you tell me, please? Y'all know who controls the media? That's right. That's right. That's right. So wait. If they are telling you Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, Oprah Winfrey, these are your leaders. Now, if your enemies are telling you that, what you should know right away is these are not your leaders. You should know that right away. Okay? You should know that right away. Okay? Right away. So whenever the media is highlighting somebody and smiling on somebody, the Bible said when the world loves you, the Most High is not with you. The Most High is not with you. You can't have the Most High in the world. Okay? If any man have the world, the Bible says the love of the Father is not with him. Period. So when you see them putting these leaders up as these people are yours. Now, on the other hand, wait a minute now. I'm going to say something controversial in a second, but I'm trying to speak the truth because I have to answer to the Most High. I have to give an account. I have to give an account. So I got to be circumspect. I got to be circumspect. So let me tell you something else. When they demonize a black man, that's when you want to look closely at the brother. You understand what I'm saying? Testing 1, 2, 3. When they demonize a brother, when they tell you how evil he is, when they tell you how he's subversive, that's the one you want to look closely at. Okay? They demonize Malcolm X. Oh, you want to look closely at that brother. All right? You want to look closely at him. I'm not saying you need to follow him. I'm saying, but that's what you want to look closely at. When they try to put Marcus Garvey, that's right. or Khalid Abdul Muhammad, when they start demonizing these brothers and telling you how evil they are, look closely. That's when you take a pause and say, hey, let me take a look at this brother. I'm not saying the brother's going to be righteous or whatever, but I'm just saying when that same Romish Ashkenazi controlled spotlight is trying to be negative on the brother, that's when you want to look at it. Okay, because you're going to see something. Either you're going to see a man speaking the truth, or you're going to see a man that's been mind controlled by their system and then gone crazy. You're going to see one of those things. Okay, all right. So judgment begins at the house of Yahweh. That means all these religious leaders, these so-called Bible leaders, look at them. You can see them out there. Creflo and all of these cats, I forgot all their names, but all these Christian so-called black men that are leading, these women so-called leading so-called ministries and all that, judgment begins with them. Yeah, that's right. TD fake, all of them. Judgment begins with them. And people that follow them are going to have problems, problems, brothers and sisters, because they're following people that are under the complete and total control of Asatan. And are being under deceptive power of Asatan. That's why the awakening is so important, brothers and sisters, for us to awaken and see what's going on and understand you cannot believe anything the media is telling you. And when they tell you it's blue, then that means it's a different color. When they tell you it's red, it's a different color. And there's always these signs. We just talked about one. Whenever the media is uplifting a person, beware of that situation. They're creating something. Because let me explain something. And you all know this inherently, but what's going on, brothers and sisters, is we're being so deceived and brainwashed to the extent that we're just awakening from these things. Look, deception. Just the word, deception. The Bible says that the devil, Asatan, deceiveth the whole world. So we got to deal with deception. Now, if I say this to you, you're gonna agree with me. But people don't think about this. The art of deception is for something to not be as it appears. Am I correct or what? That's the art of deception. Something is really appears one way, but is really not that way. That's the art of deception. And as a matter of fact, we read about it, Revelation chapter 13. It says that this country looks like a lamb. It appears like a lamb, but it speaks as a dragon. Okay, it appears like a lamb, but it speaks as that's the art of deception. And so when you're looking at somebody, looking at something, especially when media is trying to uplift somebody and honor them, there is a deception going on. It's not like I'll give you an example. Now you got there's this movement where people are trying to exalt Malcolm X. But at the time of Malcolm X's life, they denounced him. That's a classic move. The Catholic Church is good at that. They will kill somebody and destroy them and then later on venerate them as if they never did destroy them. That's a classic move. Okay. And then they try to change what the person was about. I'll give you another example. Martin Luther. After a while, Martin Luther hated the Catholic Church. He called them the great whore. He was actually using derogatory curse words when describing the Catholic Church. I mean, if you read some of his writings, Martin Luther he was rough on the Catholic Church. Okay. Now, Catholic Church wanted to kill that brother. They wanted to kill him bad, but they never got the chance to because he stayed in Germany. He stayed where he was safe, where they couldn't get to him, and his people protected him. But now, centuries later, the same church in Wittenberg that was Martin Luther's church is now back to a Catholic church. And the Lutherans have apologized to the Catholic Church for everything Martin Luther said. And he really didn't mean it. See? Yeah, that's an example. But they do that. But see, that's why we have the Bible. The Bible doesn't change. Its words don't change. The way of the Most High does not change. His righteousness does not change. And when he says he's going to do something, it's not going to change. So when he says man lying with man is abomination and the both of them shall be put to death, he hasn't changed. So when people on television talking about, you know, we can't be discriminating against LBGT, see what I'm saying? Most High hasn't changed. Babylon is Babylon, and we in Babylon, but the Most High hasn't changed. He hasn't changed his position. If something is righteous, it remains righteous. If something is wicked, it remains wicked. But deception tries to create things and make it appear as something that is not, and create something that and try to make it appear as it is something that it really isn't. Okay, that's the art of deception. It's not what it appears to be, and we need to understand that. And that's why it's very plain: fear Yah and keep His commandments. This is just a whole of man. Very plain, very simple, doesn't change. Seek ye first the kingdom of Yah, the Messiah said, and his righteousness. That's what he said. Doesn't change. Seek ye first the kingdom of Yah and his righteousness. Doesn't change. Very plain. Doesn't change. So now we're talking about judgment began at the house of Yahweh. We're talking about how people use the word Christian, and there's no Christianity in the Bible. We're talking about how we're going to inherit the kingdom. And we're talking about Revelation chapter 19. Okay, now I want to read some Revelation chapter 19, then we're going to divert into Ezekiel a little bit. Again, I want to read one more scripture though before we do that. Daniel. I want to look at Daniel chapter 7. Again, we're looking at the prophets. We're going to be maybe even looking at the Psalms. We're looking at the law concerning the book of Revelation, because they're all involved in the book of Revelation. Praise the Most High Yah. Let's take a look at Daniel chapter 7. In Daniel 7, we saw the four beasts. Tell you something. Daniel is a very deep book, as we know. And many things go back and refer to Daniel. Things Daniel was shown and Daniel wrote about are in the book of Revelation that we're going to see right here today. Let's take a look here. Daniel chapter 7. Now, Daniel saw a judgment scene. He saw a judgment scene. Let's take a look at it, beginning at verse 9. Daniel chapter 7. Actually, let me begin at verse 8. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to begin at verse 7. I'm going to go from Daniel 7:7 down to 14. From Daniel 7:7 to Daniel 7:14. Watch this. The judgment scene. And that's what we're kind of reading about today in Revelation 19. Notice again. And after this, I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horn, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld, watch this, even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. We're going to talk about this. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. Wow. So the Most High obviously is the Ancient of Days, right? The Son of Man is Messiah. And Messiah receives a kingdom and dominion that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. Now that encompasses what? The whole earth. Are you following me? Testing 1, 2, 3. So Messiah receives the kingdom, and his kingdom encompasses the whole earth. That's the Messiah's kingdom, the whole earth. Okay? So the entire world with all the people, nations, and languages will be the kingdom of Messiah. That's his kingdom. It was given to him from the Father. Right? Y'all follow me? Testing 1, 2, 3. Somebody might say, well, how come the Father's not taking the kingdom? Let me ask, that's not a bad question, but at the same time, it's just like what I would ask. It's a dumb question. I'm not trying to down anybody. I ask dumb questions all the time. But let me say this to you. The reason it's not the Father's kingdom is because all kingdoms of the whole universe belong to the Father. To limit him just to this earth would be insulting. You understand what I'm saying? The Father is the creator of every kingdom, of every planet, on every place in the whole universe. They're all of the Father's. Okay? He's given the Messiah this earth as his kingdom. Everybody follow me so far. This earth belongs to the Messiah. But all the worlds, all the universes, all the galaxies are the Father's. Everybody got me? Testing 1, 2, 3. So you can see, to say this earth is the Father's kingdom is totally insulting. But it is the Messiah's kingdom, which we just saw. The Father gave him a kingdom. Father said, listen, I'm going to give you this land. I'm going to give you this world as your kingdom, my son. Boom, there it is. That's yours. There it is. Okay, so here, this is your kingdom. So he gives him everything. Now, that's why later on we're going to read, which we read last night, that in Israel, somebody else is going to be ruling. Now, Messiah rules the whole earth, but who's ruling in Israel? I'm asking you all a question. Who's ruling in Israel according to the scriptures that we read already in the book of Ezekiel? Who's ruling in it? There you go. He said, David, whom I will raise up unto them, he's going to be king in Jerusalem over the land. Praise the Most High Yah. Praise. Yeah. So now we got the order of things. Father is the king of the universe. Messiah is the king of the whole world. David is ruling in Jerusalem. Woo! That's the kingdom, right? Amen. That's the kingdom. Now, that's not a kingdom. We're not going nowhere in the sky. We're gonna be right here on this earth, but it's not gonna look as dingy and as dirty and as nasty as it is now. Where you got mercury in the ocean and you don't know if the fish you eating got mercury in it, right? When you can't even eat a piece of bread without Monsanto's chemicals in it, right? You don't even know what you get. Where they just destroying the ozone layer and there's earthquakes and hurricanes and typhoons every year. No, he's gonna fix it. He's going to fix it. Remember, we read he's gonna make it new. He's gonna make it new. Redo it. Okay? Gonna make it, that's right, plastic rice and seedless fruits. Yeah, you got it. That's exactly right. He's gonna take care of all of that. And we're going to be on this earth. It's going to be made new. We're going to be enjoying it. We're going to be building. It's going to be all good. You're not going to be afraid to fly into one city or another, not know who you are, and people looking at you like you crazy because you're not belonging on that block. It's not going to happen. Or going down to some town and people looking at you crazy because of the color of your skin, saying you not belong here. So we're going to be, it's going to change. The kingdom's going to be the Most High's kingdom. Right? Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. Daniel 7:18. Notice what it says. Daniel chapter 7, verse 18. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Wait. The saints of the Most High, who are the Israelite people, shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. That is why when the disciples were talking to the Messiah right before he was ascended into the sky, he ascended up to the third heaven to the Father to be our high priest, to create for us the new Jerusalem and bring it back down here. He went up there And before he went up there, the disciples asked him a question, if you recall. And the question was, Master, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? That's what they asked him. You remember that? They said, Master, wilt thou at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? And he didn't say no. He didn't say no. He said, it's not for you to know the times and the seasons that the Father hath in his own power. In other words, don't worry about that right now. Y'all not going to know that. That's not for y'all to know. You know why? It's for you and me to know. It's for the last day people. We're in the latter days. It's for us to know, right? And so now we know now he getting ready to take the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Daniel chapter 7. Daniel chapter 7. Daniel 7, verse 26 and 27. Daniel 7, 26 and 27. Notice what it says. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end, and the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Ooh, that's what we're getting ready to get, brothers and sisters. You see, where we are right now in the book of Revelation, we're in chapter 13, being prepared. That's where we are right now. We're in chapter 13, being prepared for what's coming. We're in the beast that rises up out of the earth, that speaks like a lamb, and that looks like a lamb and speaks as a dragon. That's where we are right now. That's where we are. We're about to get to the end of chapter 13. And as chapter 13 is moving, so is chapter 17. We're also in 17. The beast is in secret being developed. Its kingdom is being developed. With its 10 kings that have received no kingdom as yet. All of this is happening right now. We're being prepared. We're being prepared to give the message of Revelation chapter 14 and Revelation chapter 18. We're being prepared to give that message. We have to be prepared to give that message. You can't just rise up out your bed and give a message from the Most High. The Most High has to put his spirit on you. Do you know that even the prophet Ezekiel, when he prophesied, he was able to speak? But unless he was prophesying, he couldn't speak. The Bible says his tongue clave to the roof of his mouth. He was dumb. In other words, when I say dumb, he couldn't speak. He couldn't speak unless the Spirit came on him and told him to speak. And then his tongue would be loose and he'd speak. You see, you can't do anything, and I can't do anything for the Most High in terms of prophesying unless his Spirit comes on us. And he don't just put his Spirit on anybody, and he doesn't just do it at any time. He's preparing us to receive it in his fullness right now. He's preparing us. He's preparing us by causing us to awaken to who we are, to read his word, to pray and repent of our sin and the sins of our fathers. He's preparing us to little by little receive the power of his spirit upon us, to walk in righteousness and truth. He's preparing us to do that. And the day will come when he finds that we are fully prepared. The day will come when Messiah is ready. And he's going to say to his Father, they are ready. And his Father's going to say, good. And they're going to pour the Spirit of the Father on us in a major way. It's going to seal us in our foreheads. Our characters will be witnesses to the Father's character. That point right there, they're going to take away all our stuff. It's okay. They're going to take away all our stuff. Don't worry. See, right now we get worried. When I tell people they're going to take away all your stuff, people get scared. You mean they're going to throw me on the street? Yeah, they're going to throw you on the street. You're going to be homeless. People get scared. But the only reason we're scared right now is because we really don't realize the power of our Father. That's what it is. We don't fully realize our Father's power. That's the truth. And we don't fully trust him or the Messiah. And that's what he's doing. He's a loving Father. He's a faithful Father, and Messiah is called faithful and true. And why? Because they know that. They know that about us, and they're working with us little by little. You know, you think your arguments with your spouse or your situation at your job just so happens to happen to you like that? No. I was thinking about it just yesterday. I like the job I'm in. I wish I got paid a little more, but then the thought came to me. If I got paid more for the job I'm in right now, I'd be comfortable. And I want to tell you something. The Most High doesn't want me comfortable. See, that's what we have to embrace, that idea. He doesn't exactly want us comfortable. You understand? There's always going to be something off. Always. Get used to that. But the Most High is with you in everything that you're doing. He's with you because he wants to prepare you to put on you the greatest gift that any human being can ever get. That is his spirit. If he really was to put it, see, people cheapen the Father's spirit. I mean, these people in these churches, man, talk about they done caught the Holy Ghost, or God showed up and Jesus showed up and showed out. That is total demonic foolishness. That got nothing to do with the true spirit of the Father. When the Father's spirit comes on you in the real, you can walk on water. When the Father's Spirit comes on you in the real, you're not worried about nothing ever. Not just when you walk into the walls of some so-called church. And so he wants to get us to the point where we are totally trusting him, and we have learned through a trial, tribulation, and experience to trust him. And nothing bothers, nothing moves us, because we trust him to know that he's got us. Only thing we're concerned about is doing something that would bring reproach to his name. When you get to that point, you're on your way. When that's your only concern. When something comes upon you, you say, Father, what did I do something? And you get on your knees and you pray, make sure that you not at fault. And if you're not, then you know, no, this, no, my son, no, my daughter, this is just part of the training, part of your training, just part of your training. That's all. There you go. Just part of the training. Get back in my word, get back in my spirit. We're going to be good. Part of the training. We even see when we studied the book of Job, that Job, and we did a whole thing on the book of Job. Somebody asked me about that the other day, but it's in the 400 something videos we got. There's one on the book of Job, and Job was being trained. He was being trained because, brothers and sisters, let me explain something to you. The Father is intending to permanently place on us his own perfect righteousness. You cannot get any higher than the Father's perfect righteousness. And he's trying to put that on us permanently. He cannot do that with everybody because of pride, because of stubbornness, because of lust after things of this earth like money and power. He cannot do that with those people that want those things. But for us, he's trying to do it. And brothers and sisters, there is nothing higher than the Father's perfect righteousness. Everything we're doing, the study of the book of Revelation, we're gathered together here today. When we separate and we're in our own place and we're praying, we're studying the word, we're meditating on things. Everything, brothers and sisters, everything we do, every kind of way we live, our lifestyle, how we eat, how we dress, is all to the same goal. So that we'll be prepared to receive of the Father the seal. And the seal is perfect righteousness. He said, seal the law among my disciples. The witness of his character among my disciples. All of that. Exactly. All of that. Living with people who don't want you there, or having people in your house that you don't want there. I mean, all of that. All of that. And everything is designed for that one purpose. For us to receive of his spirit. We can't make ourselves perfect, but he wants to plant perfection upon us and permanently give it to us. That's why the Bible says to the bride was what? Was granted. Was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white. And the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. That's the object. That's the object. Okay? And we should keep that in mind all the time. That should be before us all the time. That's the view, brothers. It's because you and I, we studied together for a while. We understand that our highest goal in this life is to give glory to the Father. I mean, right? Am I telling the truth? I mean, that we've all agreed that is our highest glory in this life. What we want to do is we want to bring the glory to the Father in the highest way that we can, whatever it means, whether in life or death. We want to give the Father the glory. And that being the case, always keep in mind that he understands that, number one, and number two, he wants to assist us in that by having us wear his righteousness. Okay? He wants to assist us by having us wear his righteousness. And his righteousness is perfection of witness of character. His righteousness, perfection of holiness, perfection. People say, well, what about love? I always get the Caucasian ones come to me. What about love? They always talk about love because they're afraid we're going to bash them upside the head for everything they've done to us. They're afraid of that. So they always try to come to us. What about love? But let me tell you something. In the Father's perfect righteousness is perfect love. In the Father's perfect righteousness, there is no fear. In the Father's perfect righteousness, there is perfect peace. All of that exists in his spirit of righteousness that he was trying to plant on us perfectly, completely, forever. And so everything we're dealing with now, everything we're doing is for that purpose alone, so that we can give the Father the glory due his name in a way that we have never done and has never been seen on this earth before. Okay? Praise the Most High Yah. So back to 19 now. So we can see the saints are going to possess the kingdom. We can see we read from Daniel 7 that the Bible says that the body of the beast, that is the Roman church, that's the beast. And we can also include that, as we're going to be shown, with the false prophet. They're going to be burned. And after they are destroyed, though, the rest of the kingdoms are going to exist for a while longer. We're going to talk about that. Now, let's look at Revelation chapter 19. We're going to read through it first, and then we're going to come back and dissect it, okay? We're going to read through. Now, we stopped at verse, we went to verse, I'm going to start at verse 8, and I'm going to start from there. We went down past that last night, but I'm going to start at verse 8, and we're going to read from verse 8 to verse 12 for now. And we're going to read through the whole thing, then we're going to come back and dissect it, okay? And then we're going to read through some of Ezekiel to get a proper context of what's happening here. Okay. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fine linen is the righteousness of saints. And he said unto me, Write, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he said unto me, These are the true sayings of Yahweh. And I fell at his feet to worship him. And he said unto me, See thou do it not. I am thy fellow servant and of thy brethren that have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. Worship Yahweh, for the testimony of Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True. And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. Let's continue from verse 13 down to verse 16, from 13 to 16. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, clean and white. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. And he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Al Shaddai. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun. And he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, Come, gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone. And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls were filled with their flesh. Ah, you see that. Now I want you to notice that all the fowls filled their flesh. Notice he comes on a white horse with armies. Notice the world's armies comes against him, right? Everybody catching that so far? So far, so good. So he's coming with armies and they're coming against him. Now, I also want to bring off, well, I'm going to bring this out later. But first, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 39. Ezekiel 39. Ezekiel 39. Okay, I'm going to just read this excerpt, but then I'm going to come back and we're going to read 38 and 39 together, okay? But let's look at 39 for now, just to get context. I'm going to read from verse 17. I'm going to read from verse 17 down to verse 23. Watch carefully and remember what we just read now. And thou, son of man, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, speak unto every feathered fowl and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come, gather yourselves on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink blood. Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan. And ye shall eat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my sacrifice, which I have sacrificed for you. Thus ye have filled at my table with horses and chariots, with mighty men, and with all men of war, saith the Most High Yahweh. And I will set my glory among the heathen, and all the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hand that I have laid upon them. So the house of Israel shall know that I am Yahweh, their Most High, from that day and forward. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they transgressed against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword. You see that? Notice the similarity. You notice the similarity of the dead, but this time there was some additional things added in there in terms of the Most High explaining to us that there's going to be heathen that's going to be understanding now why we went into captivity. They didn't understand it before. They're going to understand why we went into captivity. They're going to understand why the Most High put us in there and why he's taking us out. And they're going to understand that we're his chosen people. Some heathen going to understand that. Okay? Everybody see that? Testing 1, 2, 3. So you can see a very similar thing. Now, let's go back and let's look from chapter 38. Because what's going on? Let me explain. Remember what we read last night in Ezekiel chapter 37, how there was a resurrection. Remember that? We read there was a resurrection. And then Ephraim and Manasseh and Judah came together and became one. And they took the kingdom. That was chapter 37. Now in chapter 38, it's going to show you something here. It's going to show you how they're going to try to fight against us. This is after the first resurrection. They're going to try to fight against us and take the land that we have just conquered, right? That's what we said in Joshua, where the Messiah showed up with the sword drawn, right? So we're going to take the land. Let's take a look here. First, let me start again at chapter 37. And let's start where we ended up last night, chapter 37. I'm going to read from verse 19 to verse 28. Ezekiel 37 from 19 to 28. Say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his fellows, and I will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks wherein thou writest shall be in thy hand before their eyes. And say unto them, thus saith the Most High Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. And I will make them one nation in the land, upon the mountains of Israel. And one king shall be a king unto them all, and they shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms any more at all. Neither shall they defile themselves any more with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressions, but I will save them out of all their dwelling places wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their God. And David, there he is, and David, my servant, shall be king over them. And they all shall have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them. And they shall dwell in the land that I gave unto Jacob my servant, wherein your fathers have dwelt. And they shall dwell therein, even they and their children's children forever. And my servant David shall be their prince forever. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant with them, and I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them forevermore. My tabernacle also shall be with them. Yea, I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And the heathen shall know that I, Yahweh, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. Wow. So you can see, first off, the promise is to the Israelites, right? Everybody see that? Testing 1, 2, 3. Also, you can see the promise is for them to inhabit the land that was promised to their fathers. Of course, that land, as we saw from the book of Isaiah, is going to be made new. It's going to be brand new, like nobody was ever there before. It's going to be undefiled, brand new. Going to make it over, okay? And they're going to inherit it, and his tabernacle is going to be with them. So heaven is really going to be here on the earth. The kingdom is going to be here on the earth. The whole earth is going to belong to the Messiah. It's going to be made over. And the Israelite kingdom is going to be in the land that was promised to Abraham. We're all, as Israelites, going to inherit that kingdom. But there's going to be other heathens as well that have their own nations, but they're all going to be subservient to Israel. And the whole earth is going to be under Messiah, the whole world. David's going to be a prince, and he's going to be the king over Israel, and he's going to be a prince among among the children of Israel. Praise a king and a prince to the Messiah, who's king on the earth, and a king over the nation of Israel. Let me just make that clear: a prince to the Messiah, who's king of the earth, and a king over the nation of Israel. Okay, all right, everybody got that so far? All right, so what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to come back. And when we come back, we're going to read Ezekiel 38 and 39. And then we're going to come back to Revelation 19 with a clearer understanding of what's going on there. Okay? Everybody got me? So we're going to take a break here. Now, I want to just point out this one thing before we stop. The kingdom is given to the nation. We know that. Messiah is going to rule this earth, all nations. For the kingdom to be given to the nation of Israel, we know that Jerusalem is going to be there, right? So he's going to have Jerusalem. So at the time when Messiah returns, he's going to bring Jerusalem with him. Everybody got that? Testing 1, 2, 3. And see, and that's why I see somebody, even myself, used to read Revelation and read chapter 22 and think that the New Jerusalem came down later. No, the New Jerusalem comes down with the Messiah, with the kingdom. Okay? And then we're going to all rejoice in the kingdom, in the New Jerusalem. And he says, when he says here several times, he says, we just read, I will set my sanctuary in the midst of them. My tabernacle also shall be with them, where the Father's tabernacle and his sanctuary is in Jerusalem. Everybody got that? So He's going to set it down here. We're going to be here. They're going to try to take it. They're going to be unsuccessful. And that's what we're going to read about in Ezekiel 38 and 39. We're going to read about it right now, Ezekiel 38, 39, but we're going to stop right here. So let me stop the recording for a minute and come back.